right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I wanted to break down Robert Saleh's press conference that he just wrapped up. Right now, he's obviously at the Jets facility. He's not at the NFL Combine, and talked a little bit about, the present and the future of the team. Talked about the quarterback position, the coaching staff. There's a lot of stuff to get into, but honestly, this is my second time filming this. The first go round, I did it with the normal setup, and this sounds just completely. This was the entire audio. So obviously I'm not going to upload that, so I'm just going to redo it here. But he started the press conference off by talking a bit about the coaching staff, Nathaniel Hackett, Keith Carter, just how he respected both of those guys throughout the years, especially Carter, with what he's been able to do with the Tennessee Titans running game, but then talked about Todd Downing. And this is where things got interesting because, he said, of course, went over Downing's resume a little bit, worked with Stafford early in his career, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, in Saleh's words, the resurrection of Ryan Tannehill. But he also goes on, like before he changed, before a different topic popped up, he said that Downing was actually going to be running the quarterback room. And it kind of, on one hand, it's like, okay, makes sense. This is a guy who's worked with quarterbacks. He's worked with numerous guys that have had, some successful seasons, a lot of production, and he's a veteran. But it also makes you ask the question, what's the role of Rob Calabrese? Is his job going to be minimized to a degree? And to me, the sound of it is kind of like, yeah, it's probably going to. If Todd Downing is going to be running the quarterback room and is going to be filling the role of Greg Knapp, who originally had this role, years ago here, it sounds a bit more than just passing game coordinator. So just something interesting that Saleh brought up. Now moving on to quarterbacks, he talked a bit about Derek Carr. Nothing new, right? Just talked about everything that we pretty much, that everybody knows, up to this point. Just raved about his accuracy, his overall football intelligence, how good of a guy he is. And that the first meeting that he had with the Jets and Saleh, it went great. But apparently Woody Johnson went down to Indianapolis to meet specifically with Derek Carr. And to me, I think that's totally cool, right? Woody Johnson, the owner of the team, doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have, nobody told him to do that. It's Joe Douglas's job to convince Derek Carr to sign. It's Joe Douglas's job to bring him on. Woody Johnson is not going down to the combine to do 40 times on the field. He went to specifically meet with Derek Carr for the second time. To me, that is awesome. That is really, really cool because it shows that the owner here, Woody Johnson, is not just looking at the organization as just some, business venture. Like, he actually cares. He's taking time. He's spending some resources here to try to sweeten the deal with Derek Carr. I think, again, from just a fan's perspective, it's awesome to look at a guy, the owner of a football team, who's actively trying to help in one way or another. So Saleh couldn't make it. He's at the facility again with all the other coaches, working on schemes, offensive schemes, defensive schemes. But Woody Johnson made the trip. And again, I think it's sick. When we shift gears and talk about the draft, Saleh said that he doesn't really have an answer. He hasn't really done a bunch of homework on these guys. It's more so, who are we going to bring back, analyzing, the Jets' current roster, looking ahead to free agency. And, he didn't say this, but of course the quarterback question is on everybody's mind, and that's going to impact how things play out with the draft. Maybe if the Jets wind up with Rodgers, they're trading away draft picks. So we'll see how the QB position lays out. But, unfortunately, Saleh didn't have any sort of clarity, any sort of idea on what's going on with the draft. Now, something else that was pretty interesting, at least for me, was that there's going to be some carryover from Mike LaFleur's offensive system. They're not going to be just completely trashing everything. And as much as Mike LaFleur drove me crazy last season with play calling, with game planning throughout the week, how the team would start out on Sundays just looking sluggish and confused, as much as that stuff would bother me, I got to say, I'm not anti-zone blocking. I'm not anti, short passing or play action or West Coast scheme in general. This is a time-tested system. We still have multiple teams running it, multiple teams that are having success with it. I'm not anti-West Coast, not at all. I mean, the scheme, there's a lot. It's extremely nuanced. It's extremely detailed. But I think in order to run this scheme effectively, you have to have the two things in place, right? A coaching staff that knows how to install it, that knows how to, call plays and game plan for it. And then, of course, you have to have the personnel on the field to go out and execute the given play and the game plan. So I think if that's what the Jets are shooting for here, right? If they believe that Todd Downing running the quarterback room, if they believe in Nathaniel Hackett as a play caller, then it is what it is. I just want the team, as a fan here, I want the team to put their best foot forward and be able to put guys in position to have success both on the field and in the coaching room. Now, the last thing I do want to end off on here is the fact that, so in regards to the quarterback position, Saleh said that he doesn't have a timetable on when it's going to get done. He's not necessarily rushing it, and he appreciates that the Jets are allowing players time, right? Where they're respecting people's time here. And is he talking about Derek Carr? Because we all know Derek Carr is taking his time. Saints, Panthers, he's making his decision. Is he talking about Aaron Rodgers with the darkness retreat and all that kind of stuff? Maybe he's talking about both. And that's kind of what I think Saul is alluding to here, was that he just appreciates that there isn't really that hard deadline that the team has to have this done by. And he appreciates the time that the organization is giving these players. So, I want this thing figured out before free agency, so we have a plan in place. We know what the financials are going to look like, unless, Rodgers wants to stick with the Packers and Derek Carr, whatever, opts to sign with the Saints or whoever it may be, a team not named the Jets. Then it's like, okay, at least we know now we can go target a Jimmy G. And try to get something locked in on paper. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Sorry, I would have had this video up like 2 hours before, or like an hour before, or an hour ago, sorry. Just when rewatching and going through the editing, there was just that static. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.